Hi, this is Dr. Claire Steffen, and I'm back to talk with you today some more about cognitions of choice. And in specific, we'll be looking at dispositions and traits. Just a little bit of information again about my background as a psychologist, life coach, wellness coach, and business coach. I have the opportunity to share with many different professionals and individuals my program on cognitions of choice. So when we look at the dispositions and traits, most of the time people think of a disposition as a temperament, but I'm suggesting that it's actually also a way of being. And so when we look at traits, we think of it in terms of maybe our abilities, but we can also think of it in terms of our personalities. And so when you're looking at it in regards to abilities, we tend to think of the skills that we develop, and it may impact the way we think and the style of thinking that we engage, our learning styles. And we could also think of it in terms of strengths and limitations. So you could think of those strengths and limitations in regards to your abilities, but you could also apply that same thinking in regards to personality traits. And so when we're talking about traits in regards to personality, we may be looking at our personal characteristics or the individual's characteristics, maybe talking about the qualities that people possess. But we could also look at it in regards to perceptions or percepts. And so these percepts are really about our insights, and it's a way of seeing the world, and it influences our view of ourselves as well as our view of the world. So when we're going to be talking today about these cognitions of choice, I want you to be thinking about them in regards to dispositional traits, as we just described here. So how do we develop these dispositional traits, or why would we even want to focus on this? Because it can allow us to create a philosophy for living that would certainly make our life a lot easier when we're facing stress or unwanted conditions, in an environment, or there's something that is, kind of difficult for us. If we have this fallback position, that's our life philosophy, certainly it creates a little less stress in our brain and helps us to be able to make decisions with a little more ease. The other thing it allows us to do is to go beyond these old constructs or social definitions that define us that might be restrictive. And so we can actively engage in choices. And if you remember in previous sessions, I was talking about using choice in a way where we invite choice, we investigate it, and we start to initiate choice. So we move from that automatic thought process into a much more conscious level of thinking. So developing these dispositional traits that I'm going to talk with you further about today helps us reduce stress, and it also allows us to develop a very efficient brain style. And so it engages the brain at a much fuller level where the communication between all the different systems within the brain can actively connect. And so we get to process choice more effectively. And we also can consider creating wellness for life. So we process in different ways, and I know I've mentioned before that it's not just this kind of top-down or bottom-up kind of thinking, that it really occurs in a much more radial perspective. Things come at us in many different ways and in different environments and in different relationships. And so one of the things we've learned that your brain will respond to the information you present to it. And so if you're acting as if everything's healthy and well, your brain will release the chemicals that make you feel good. And if you hold on to these negative thoughts or things that deplete your brain, it will also deplete the chemistry that allows you to feel well in life. And so as we begin to process at deeper levels by engaging these cognitions of choice, not only can we think critically, but we can also think creatively. And it allows us to be more authentic with ourselves and connect to others at a deeper level. So we open our brains to a more conscious way of thinking, and it allows us to be more open and universal in our thought patterns. So just as a reminder here, I do use the levels approach as a way to kind of teach this model. And it's just a didactic way to think about it. It doesn't mean necessarily that it's the only view that we have on choice. And so this little mnemonic that change happens as an opportunity to invite corrective exploration. The key word here is that we're inviting choice. And so when we're looking at level 1 goals, we're mostly focused on reducing fear around these automatic thought process. We're becoming more assertive, and we're trying to connect our thoughts to our feeling in a way that is very congruent, so there isn't the experience of anxiety or depression occurring. And so when we think about, the ability to choose in a way that's much more open, where we invite and then we also investigate choice, it really allows us many more opportunities to experience life more openly. And so this level 2 approach is that change happens as an opportunity to investigate critical experience. And as I said before, even if you don't remember these mnemonics verbatim, it doesn't really matter. It's more just to insert that thought of choice before you take action in life. And so the kind of skills we're focusing on here, or traits, dispositions that we're wanting to develop, are optimism, respect, and empowerment. So the level 3 choice that we want to explore is the ability to initiate change, or choice. You can insert either here. And that this conscious choice leads to hope and an openness and initiation of creative empowerment. And so we're going from those old constructs that are socially imposed into something that we're creating. So we're not just constructing, we're also creating. And the goals here would be to develop integrity, to maintain dignity, and to be really very resilient in our life. So what happens when we reject choice? It results in imbalance in our thinking processes. We can have desired, outcomes that won't happen because we're stuck with barrier thinking or obstacles. It can result in some kind of harmful behavior to ourselves. It might be that people engage addiction because they're not experiencing choice, or it may damage relationships and be harmful in that way. So choice is very important to our health, and it allows us to really experience freedom. So let's look at some of the different life choices that are available to us and how we open that portal for choice that really supports our wellness. And so today we're going to talk about some of these traits a little bit further that will allow you to create a philosophy for living, and that way you won't be stuck in these old constructs, but you can actively experience your choices by inviting, investigating, and initiating choice. So these are just some of the ways or examples that developing this philosophy for living could be beneficial, because it could allow you to create a healthy lifestyle, or it could be important when you experience a health crisis, to have a fallback position around your philosophy for living, so that there's meaning to your life and so that you don't experience despair. It can help you in creating an identity for yourself so that you really know yourself well. It can be important in terms of relationships, so you don't compromise yourself in any way, and then you don't fall prey to just people pleasing. It can help you in choosing a partner. When you're in a marriage and people experience conflicts around communication, having your own life philosophy could be instrumental in making sure that you maintain that identity of self. It can be very important in terms of parenting and passing this on as a legacy to your children. So when you're born, they also have that internal view of who you are, and they carry that with them through life. It can be used in helping you pick a career path. If you're in a position of management, it might help you in making employee hiring decisions so that you get the right fit for the employee that would work well in your company. It could also be very helpful in these stressful times when people have work environments where they're threatened with layoffs. And what I mean by that, if you're the person who has a life philosophy that isn't stuck in these old fear-based constructs, you can rise above this situation and you can see yourself from a much broader perspective to be able to recognize that not only do you have choice, but you have these skills and these abilities that will carry you through these tough times. So those are some examples, and here's a few more. Making financial decisions, having a philosophy that you're connected to and you understand that about yourself extremely well can be beneficial so that you make the right kind of choices for the lifestyle you want to live. Can be important too in terms of how you use social media and kind of a protection of zone for yourself and who you let in and to what capacity. It might be useful in deciding where you want to live in life, or when you want to retire or where you want to retire to. Could also be a part of the bigger picture of who you are spiritually, or if you hold a particular religious point of view. And it also could impact the cultural perspective that you have in life about yourself and your family and where you came from. So all of us have various types of decisions and choices that we are faced with daily. And some of these choices are small, and some of them are much more significant choices. And so I kind of divided this down into looking at them from how they impact our living. And these first level choices or primary choices are about sustainability. And so some of the things that we want to look at here are survival needs, things that are about our health and wellness, homeostasis or life balance, our financial support and security there, and other environmental factors. Now, these are things probably you wouldn't want to compromise or you want to protect very carefully and have a zone around so that you are in a safe place with your life decisions, that are supporting sustainable choices. The secondary level is about self-empowerment. And so these are also important life choices, but they go deeper or beyond just survival needs. And so what we're looking at here is self-development, perhaps your spiritual choices in life, affiliation, and how you connect to people, ideas about self-improvement, and choices of desire, not necessarily needs, but things that you desire. And so that third or tertiary level are choices that involve recognition or are focused on achievement. And that's also significant in life, but perhaps doesn't necessarily impact your survival at the same level as those primary needs do. So in this case, we're focusing on things like education and training, where we're going to work, or if we're an entrepreneur, what kind of pursuits we'll have in that arena, where we are at socially and what our social status is, ideas about promotion and our efforts or achievements in that regard. And so you could apply your decision wheel and you could look at the fact that everything happens in life in a relational way. And so that's the primary focus of all of these decisions, whether we're talking at a primary level, secondary, or a tertiary level. And that we connect in life not only to each other, but to ourselves. And so everything kind of radiates out from that relational decision process. And so we are thinking about sustainability, empowerment, and achievement in that radial way that I mentioned earlier. So now let's look at some of the various types of choices, and these won't include all of the choices, of course, that we come across in life. But as we move into talking more about these traits and dispositions, I want you to consider that these are some of the types of choices that might be affected by having these various traits. And as I said before, as you develop them and you design your philosophy for living, having the access to these cognitions will make it easier, less stressful for your brain to be making these kinds of choices. So some types of choices we make are out of desire, not just need. Some are very simple yes/no choices, and those really don't quite require as much brain capacity. Then we have multiple choices, options 1, 2, 3, and sometimes more. Sometimes we're looking at, we're in a situation we're not particularly happy about necessarily, and we're focused on what's the best case scenario that could come out of this situation. Sometimes we're in a situation where we want to win, and hopefully that's not, the competitive mode we're operating out of most of the time. But there are times when, competition is a great thing, and we want to come out in a winning position. Sometimes we're focused on assertion and developing that aspect of ourselves. Some choices involve self-worth or self-esteem, and so those relational choices in that case are crucial. And so having a strong philosophy and belief system about yourself in a supportive way could be very beneficial. Sometimes we are looking at choices that create harmony or collaboration or connection to others, and so we want to be able to have a philosophy that allows for that kind of support in our life. Sometimes life gives us situations that require empathy, and there's so much stress in the world today that we really need more empathy in ourselves and towards ourselves and with each other. And so having that philosophy could again reduce stress. Some choices, we want to focus on lifelong decisions, and having that philosophy will support that. Moral choices, spiritual choices, and many more that you can think of that I'm sure I haven't mentioned here, but you think you get the idea. So we're going to move now to specifically looking at these cognitions of choice. And so as you learn to assess the types of choices and situations that you would use your cognitions of choice in, as I said, it could be much more efficient. You can process more quickly, and you can really have a higher level of comfort around decision making and choices, and not respond so much in a fear-based way. As you become more consciously aware and creative in your choices, your brain will be able to connect and really use all the systems that are in your brain to be able to help you respond more effectively. And so, having these traits really is a way that it connects up with and drives our choices, because it really connects to the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave, and ultimately what we believe. And so you really get the opportunity by applying these cognitions of choice to be able to design your philosophy for living. So, as I said, once you've determined which level of choice is presented, you can efficiently decide which options, how much time you want to take in making a choice, and what choices you want to explore, and the best choices for you. And so let's look at them now. And they really are a brain-based approach to creating a philosophy for living. So the very first cognition of choice that I'm presenting here is, consider your options. And I just want to kind of review some things about these cognitions of choice with you, and so you'll get an idea of how they're designed. Every one of them has a symbolic image that you can focus on, and maybe sometimes it'll be more visual, and you'll remember that symbol. Each of them has also a visual or artistic image that could be helpful for some people that are already more creative, and they rely on creativity as a way to drive their thinking. Each of them also presents with a motto, and the motto is a way to kind of cut through situations and to be able to hold on to it and apply it in a way that's very efficient. And each of them also has with them a definition. So in this case, the definition is for considering options that you have the right and the power for freedom to choose after all your other possibilities have been ruled out. And so as we go through, you'll see that each one of these cognitions of choice presents in the same format, and it offers multiple support systems for your learning, your remembering, and your application. so that as you develop these constructs, that you can create your own philosophy for living. And if you remember the simple mnemonic around choice, and you believe that balance is a choice, you can use these in a way to effectively respond to any kind of stressor, any kind of life situation in any environment, and all the different choices that are approaching you each day in that radial way that we're talking about. So this next one is creating alternatives. And so again, you see the symbol here at the top. And hit the motto, let's see another way I can look at this. You have your visual image. And the definition in this case is the possibility of choosing between two or more different courses of action. Oh, one of the other things that each of these have is an aspirational goal that will help you construct your beliefs. Now, I really think it's important to kind of design that aspirational goal yourself, but I can provide them alongside these to get you started. So in this case, maybe the aspirational goal is to tell yourself you can always create a plan B. And even in life situations where you can't, you still have choices, and so that's a lot to remember. And so that's why I designed these mottos, because it makes it a lot easier for people to take that with them. And I'm not saying you're going to use every single one of these cognitions of choice for every decision we make. Obviously, that wouldn't be very efficient. But it may be that under certain conditions or certain situations, a specific cognition of choice might be more applicable. And so the more familiar you become with each of these cognitions of choice, the more able you'll be able to efficiently decide which one applies, and to be able to visualize that, or to be able to talk to yourself in the way of using that motto, or thinking about that definition or that aspirational goal. So the third one here is about discernment. And with discernment, you can discriminate between healthy and unhealthy choices. And the definition here is to keenly, selectively, judge and involve sensitivity in the process as you decide what would be appropriate to you. And so, the goal here is you want to remain true to your values and respect your personal boundaries, for yourself and others in the relationships that are significant to you. Our next one is around altruism, and its definition is an attitude or belief in a way of behaving that is marked by unselfish concern for the benefit and welfare of others. And the idea is that you're giving back because you're grateful. And so it's, kind of goal here is not about seeing others as less fortunate, and understanding that, trauma or loss can happen to any of us in life, but the idea that we want to support and connect to each other in a giving and loving way. Our next one is around positive mental attitude, and that things have a way of working out. And so in this case, the goal is to accept that life is an exceptional gift, and that it's, to be appreciated at all levels of functioning. Definition in this case is that, we're going to be confident, affirmative, and optimistic, and focus on our emphasis for healthy concepts and ways of relating to bring about beneficial results. And so, each of these cognitions of choice present as a trait, but they, in a way, they're a construct, or they're a concept, or they're a percept, which is really, like I said, a way of perceiving, or a way of being. And so you have that symbolic image, which is a representation of the cognition. And you also have your motto, which is something I would recommend you commit to memory. And so because as you process at those various levels, you will connect to your values. And so it becomes second nature as you design your philosophy for living. And the aspirational goals, become personal goals. And some of these examples I'm giving you might be beneficial to you, or you might just kind of choose your own. But they connect up to your beliefs as well as your values. And so you're constructing and creating your personal viewpoints here. and the way you look at yourself and the way you look at the world. So our next one is cultural appreciation, and that is aesthetics are present in all aspects of life. And so you look around you, you know, that we get to appreciate the differences in each other, and that nature presents with beauty, and that it exists everywhere around us. And so the aspirational goal is to really appreciate life. So the definition here is that we relate to the arts, intellectual activities with a grateful awareness, and that we come out with a favorable opinion in respect to and recognition for these differences and the contributions that each of them make. We also want to support open communication. So, you know, the idea that I want to connect to you, that we are open to each other in that way. And so the goal here is learning occurs only, you know, when we're present and receptive, and that without it, no true intimacy occurs. And so, you know, our definition here is that communication in an open way is about being respectful and being accessible, and to remove those barriers, you know, that we talked about previously, and that our attitudes and our beliefs allow for listening to and hearing all sides to exchange, and that the thoughts, messages, the information, the ideas, the feelings, and the concepts, whether they're verbal or nonverbal or a written message, that we're open to them and we receive them. Number 8 is about commitment, that you're here for the long haul, and that, again, we want to connect to one another, and this will allow us to prevent isolation and hopefully prevent some anxiety from occurring. And it gives us the opportunity to validate one another. So commitment is about keeping a promise, and that we're linked to each other, and that it helps us to build character, and we're trustworthy in our word and our actions. So it's about that follow through. Number 9 is about congruence and compatibility, and that things need to fit to maintain wellness. And so in this case, you know, we're looking at complementary views, and we're looking at a way to create a goal where we exist with each other in harmony. So the definition in this case is the quality or the state of this agreement, you know, between our beliefs and our values, allow us to achieve a healthy flow, so that there's consistency between the thoughts and the feelings, and the feeling in line with our stated beliefs and values. Remember, I've said before previously that, you know, if there is that split between the thoughts and the feelings, or how we behave and what we go through, that we're more prone to experience anxiety or discomfort of some type. Number 10 is about transcendence, you know, and so having that eagle eye where we can rise above, and we can see the future, and we surpass or go beyond the ordinary. And we hold on to that perception that allows not only for achievement, but to achieve the expectations, you know, that we have for ourselves. And so in this case, we need to live life in a mindful way, and that's the goal here, you know, so that we can be vulnerable to disagreements or discouragement, or, you know, things that impact our empowerment in a way that leaves us with despair. But if we're able to create this life philosophy that allows us to transcend that, we can, you know, really be much more comfortable when we're under stress. Can't avoid stress in life. It's how you approach it. So number 11 is about a future orientation and holding on to being hopeful. It allows us to pass that baton to the next generation, and that we create continuity in life. And so the definition here is about our personal psychology, and that we create a healthy viewpoint, and that we mature in life. We have foresight, encouragement, we're able to plan ahead, delay gratification, and you know, that really we are, you know, kind of the wisdom bearers. And so you know, always, even, you know, you can see this sometimes in even young children who have this kind of gift, that they have wisdom in life, and so want to develop those traits that allow for future orientation. Number 12 is about seeking solutions, and so we want to open the mind to investigate and explore and go beyond and join each other in a relational way. And so we have that open mind and heart and the definitions to go forward and to consult in a way to approach or address problem solving or concerns in that open, viewpoint. Number 13 is having respect for equality, and that we all do the best we can, and that we all have something to offer, and that we don't all have the same abilities or gifts, and that, on a human level, we all have something to contribute. And so the definition here is to value all living beings and to view each of us distinctly and separately, but also in a reciprocal way. And this allows for really the sense of fair play and justice and, the recognition that we're all worthy of the same rights and rights. And it's very important in these times to have that viewpoint. Number 14 is about integrity, and that we respect all living creatures and that we're good to our word, and that people get to see that, follow through in action. And that the definition here is that there's consistency between what you say and what you do. And that you have that virtue to adhere at that moral level, and that you apply these principles to your living, and that you hold true to what you value. And so it really supports that state of wholeness and of being sound character. So now this integrity allows you to be authentic, and that's the goal here, to represent yourself and communicate from a solid foundation, and to be true not only to your word but to your actions. Number 15 is about sharing, that you have that abundance viewpoint, that you have more than enough so that you can contribute not only your equal share of the work, but that you're willing to divide or distribute it equally. And so the goal in this case is to, give openly and to others in a way without expecting anything in return. Reciprocal joy is, recognizing that we matter to each other. And when your heart is moved or touched, that you act in the way that you share that joy. And the goal is to learn to appreciate and to accept each other, even with our flaws, and to engage in joy regardless of whatever our limitations are, and to see the best in one another. Number 17 is a protective bond, and to recognize that we can nurture each other, we can create a community, and we can support each other going forward. The idea that we're here for each other in a way that's loving, accepting, and forgiving. And so the definition is that we present with a shield that offers alliance or connection, mutual support, and creates those healthy boundaries to allow for self-protection and for protection of those that we love. Okay, number 18 is courageous acts, and that we're willing to take reasonable or responsible risks. And that the definition in this case is that we show conviction. We act in accordance with the beliefs, and we take responsibility for our actions. And we're able to confront fear or pain or uncertainty, feelings of intimidation or risk in a responsible way. And so we all have limitations, and we want to be able to feel and experience some degree of success in our life, and to live life to a fullest capacity sometimes requires that we take on courageous acts. So it is definitely a trait that you want to focus on developing. Number 19 is harmonious balance, the idea that you want to live life in balance. And the goal here is that, sometimes we can experience stress and we can feel off balance, but that we want to protect the core of who we are, so that we can be grounded and we can find our way back to the foundation. So we want to create an awareness where we align with ourselves in mind, body, and spirit, so that also our words match our actions in a congruent and compatible way. Number 20 is about whimsical spontaneity. Life should be fun. We want to see what happens in life. And so that's the goal here, is to enjoy ourselves and enjoy our relationships, and enjoy each other. And so the definition is to be uplifting and fun-loving and proceed from that natural feeling and that childlike innocence, and to let that be part of who you are. It becomes part of the disposition, or that tendency to view life in that spontaneous way, so you don't get weighed down too much and not be able to enjoy life. 21 is about fearless conviction, and there's fear, in so many ways in life. We can experience it financially, we can experience fear and loss in relationships, in work environments, we can experience fear. And so to be able to see yourself as someone who can be a fearless person and have that state of readiness to be able to act in a way where you're open to learning new things so that you can be ready. So it's really more about being ready to learn and making a commitment to living within reasonable risks. Life always presents risks, and we want to take calculated, healthy risks so that we can confront any challenges or obstacles that prevent our personal growth. Number 22 is allowing yourself to shine, having charisma, being that authentic, best version of yourself. And so charisma is about that special quality, that compelling attraction and charm or empowerment that influences, inspires, or leads others. And so I think when we tap into accepting ourselves with forgiveness and love, and being able to see our own limitations and presenting that movement towards wellness, then we're just charismatic just for being who we are, just being ourselves. So that's the goal there. Number 23 is about self-encouragement, to tell yourself that you have this, and so to be able to tap into what your beliefs are and that you have this potential, and to see yourself as action-oriented in the way that we were just talking about, to calculate the risks, but to make intelligent choices, and to be able to assess the results and revise your plan if you need to. And so in this case, the definition is to be able to give courage, confidence, or hope to yourself in a heartfelt manner, and that results in your improvements and belief in yourself. And so, remembering to encourage yourself, is sometimes hard. People tend to think that that's selfish, but it's really necessary in order to maintain health. And so our last one here is about self-respect, and that for everything in life, there deserves respect. Whether we're talking about an individual, or we're talking about ourselves, or we're talking about material things even, or animals or life situations, that everything in life is worthy and deserving of respect. And we feel better when we engage with self-respect. And to see that it's your time. So the definition here is that it's a healthy judgment of yourself and an attitude that assertively stands for your personal decision and protects you from harm, and it allows you to achieve peace of mind. And so self-respect is a very important skill, or trait to develop. So you can see here now we've gone through all 24 cognitions of choice. And if you were to develop these, that they would support that philosophy for living. And in future sessions, I will talk more about these cognitions of choice, separately. And so we'll get to see how each of them could be applied in detail. And so today I was just really meaning to introduce them and to kind of, as you were listening, and hopefully you were starting to think about which ones might be appealing to you, or which ones might have significance under different circumstances or conditions. And so, I will also show you some exercises, to develop these traits, and also to develop your brain to be able to use these traits in an effective way in some of our future sessions. All right, so going forward here, I want you to think about, reasons to change in life. They don't always have to change, but, life really, if there's anything you can expect, and you can rely on that life will present change, and that if you're ready, you're in that state of readiness and being open to and able, flexible, it will make it less stressful for you. And so just kind of be thinking about life changes that, we were talking about all the different types of choices that, you experience and what might be the pros and cons around change. So you don't want to just change for the sake of change. We change a lot of times because we have to, but you don't really want to just be stuck in that position that you're changing only because you have to. You want to have some choice around it. So the other thing you could do with these cognitions of choice is that you could start to track them, and you could look at which ones you're applying, in specific situations, or the event that might have triggered you to think about the cognition of choice. And so what environment you were in, what thought process was going on, what thoughts you were having in the situation, and how did that make you feel, and what choice you applied. And so then you could also look at trying out these cognitions of choice to see which ones might be suitable or applicable to your life situations, or which one might have most meaning for you. And really opening up that portal of choices I was talking about before, so that you start to see yourself as someone who's able to think, not just in that automatic fear-based processing way. Then also as a reminder, I've said previously that automatic thought process isn't always a negative thing, because sometimes habits are healthy and they can allow us to experience life in a more efficient way. So, it's not all negative. But anyway, you could track these applications of cognitions of choice, and you could rate them on a scale of 1 to 100, and you could choose as 100 the best or as 1 the best, And then you can design a new choice that you're working towards, and you can track it to see how close you're getting to the mark there, and if it's helpful to apply these cognitions of choice. And so as you've learned, to assess the different choices, in these different situations, and how to construct healthy ways of thinking, you can use the cognitions of choice to enable you to process more quickly and more effectively. Okay. And so let's look here just briefly at how we can maybe design a life philosophy using these cognitions of choice, and to always remember that wellness is a choice. And so there is a little golden rule that I like to apply, that everything in life can flow from. And it's just a simple reminder of the importance of protecting life, and that life is a reciprocal process, that everything in life is connected in a relational way. And so this relational rule that reinforces that we want to integrate our thought processes so our brain can operate in its most efficient and effective way, and that we create harmony in our lives so that our brains aren't experiencing extreme stress. So if we think about these simple golden rules: don't hurt yourself, don't let anyone hurt you, and don't hurt anyone else. And you can incorporate that into your philosophy for living when you apply these cognitions of choice. It'll be a guiding post for you. So thinking about the emotions that we experience, there's just some little guides on how to manage your emotions. So that, as I said, we apply these levels of choice, and we want to get to that place where we're thinking and feeling and behaving in a more conscious way, so that we're impacting our belief systems in a way that's more open. So we tap into that awareness about ourselves, our environment, our relationships, other people, and we look at it from an acceptance point of view, and we're flexible and able to adjust and be resilient. And that when we take actions, we come from a place of choice, and that these actions are done in a mindful way, and that we can transcend situations that are perhaps restrictive to us. Okay, and so before we close here, It's just a little exercise for you to apply as you create your own desired life philosophy. And it could be applied situationally. It could be applied in terms of how you relate to yourself or how you relate to others, how you relate to the work that you do in life. Things that are going on in your marriage, or any number of those life situations that we talked about earlier. And so you can exercise your brain in this way. So I think, and you could fill in the blanks with, I think I am a happy person, which causes me to feel joy. And consequently, I make behavioral choices that support health. I actually believe that I am capable of healthy choices. My beliefs allow me to make healthy choices, and I am committed to wellness and making lifelong choices that support that wellness. That's an example of it. So you can fill in these blanks with whatever situation is applicable to your current life situation. And so I just wanted to get you thinking a bit today about the cognitions of choice. This is just a general overview, and as I said, going forward, I'll give you much more description of these cognitions of choice and how to exercise them and exercise your brain as you apply cognitions of choice. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in future sessions. Have a great day. Bye now.